Hi everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to the almost weekend. It's been a long week, at least it has for me, but maybe for you too, as we continue to track Hurricane Ian this afternoon and Ian's remnants, which will be impacting us shortly. So rain jacket on for me already. That is going to be the theme of the weekend, and definitely for your Friday night if you're heading out. So we have actually had a really nice week. Not that I could tell you much about it because I haven't been paying close attention, what with tracking Ian, watching its landfall in Florida, sadly, just so destructive. Everything you fear that a top-end Cat 4 would do to a place, it did, and then some with devastating storm surge. Hurricane force winds that just would not let up, and tons of flooding all across the state of Florida. So Ian, not done with it yet, is about to make landfall again as a Category 1 storm in South Carolina. Now, much less intense than what happened in Fort Myers, but a hurricane nonetheless. So we want to get you caught up on that and then get you ready for the weekend, because rain will be here by the evening commute for some of you, and then it's going to be really hard pressed to leave through the rest of the weekend. So I'm afraid not the best forecast. We get these remnant rains from tropical storms all the time, and this is no exception. So getting into it, let's see, we want to get you ready. So I'm going to try to bring up my graphics here for you. Give me just 1 second as I navigate, and we'll show you what to expect. Okay, so obviously that's your main headline. Ian's bringing the weekend rain, no kidding. Here's Ian right now. You might remember about a week ago, we started monitoring Ian, the weather community, as the National Hurricane Center had already put out a track for Ian, which was in the southern Caribbean, that it was going to cross Cuba and most likely get into the Gulf and impact someone along the Gulf Coast. I think it was a little unclear a week ago whether it was going to be hitting Florida, going straight up into the Panhandle, or perhaps impacting Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana coastlines. But then over the weekend, narrowing in on the Tampa region. And then from there, Tampa, there were evacuation orders put into place by Monday. By Tuesday, the track had taken a noticeably southward shift, and we knew that it was going to hit Fort Myers. But the problem is, that was only about 24 hours before those hurricane conditions began. And while there were some evacuation orders put into place for coastal Fort Myers, including the beach, Sanibel Island, Captiva Island, Pine Island, places like that, it was just a little too late for some folks to get out, or a lot were not able to get out. And it's kind of one of those things, Fort Myers was on the bubble of the cone 48 hours out, and then it became very clear they were going to get a direct hit. But those things don't usually become clear with hurricanes until you're 24 hours out. You can't really narrow it down to one specific town. But when you're talking about Southwest Florida, 50 miles makes a huge difference, because it's impacting a totally different population, and the whole area is super populated. So it's dense with people, and it almost makes you think that bigger regions just need to be get put on notice sooner. But that's a story for another day. There's Ian right now. Winds are sustained at 85 miles an hour, gusts to 105 miles an hour, central pressure 980 millibars, and it is moving at a good pace. Unlike when Ian was landfalling in Florida and moving across the state, it was crawling. Now it's back up at 14 miles an hour. So for a hurricane, that's not bad. Okay, hurricane conditions have been battering the South Carolina coast all day. That Cat 1 will officially make landfall soon. I do know that they've been experiencing some storm surge, beach erosion, and they have had reports of hurricane force winds, as well as getting dumped on with a ton of rain, not just along the coast, but further inland as well. There's the track. The track no longer really matters, because as soon as Ian comes on shore, it'll weaken quickly to a tropical depression, and then it's just a rainstorm through the rest of its lifespan. But that lifespan keeps on going, by the way, straight through the weekend. So there's radar, and the definition of the eye is a little tough to find, unlike Cat 4 Ian a couple days ago in what feels like a different lifetime. It was a very distinct, very large eye wall that came ashore. The whole process of getting the eye wall across land took about 4 hours, and it was brutal for those that were in it. Now you're looking at a more torn up structure of a system, but it's a circulation, and it's a hurricane nonetheless. And it does, to me, looking at radar, look like that Ian has made landfall, or is in the process of making landfall, just north and east of Charleston, South Carolina. So if I look on a map, I could probably get a better idea of where exactly that is, and we'll try to see if the Hurricane Center has put anything out about it actually making landfall. Doesn't look like yet. So Charleston, it's funny, I mean, I've seen a lot of video coming out of Charleston, and while it looks like a hurricane is making landfall, no doubt, it just, you know, can't even come close to matching the intensity from the videos that we saw coming out of the Fort Myers region. Okay, so I would say this is just the area of landfall is just north and east of Charleston, kind of where that little inlet is, Bulls Bay. Yeah, Bulls Bay, which looks to be a much more remote section of coastal South Carolina. The closest town just north or just west on Route 17 would be Awendaw. So Bulls Bay, Cape Island, near the Santee Coastal Reserve, that's where Hurricane Ian will come ashore and make its final landfall. But on the west side, certainly Mount Pleasant, Charleston, Edisto Beach, they're getting whacked. Kiowa Island, Hilton Head's a little bit farther south, but you get the idea. They're seeing those like really heavy rain bands wrap in. Look though at the scope of Ian. Rain has made it to about Richmond. So the big picture has really, the rainfall has expanded so much as the storm is not as compact and tight as it once was. So rain is spread through North Carolina, Southeast Virginia, and it's coming on in. Right now it looks like on radar made it to about Spotsylvania County, and it'll be a couple hours, but pushing in from the south and bringing us some rainfall pretty shortly. I would say by 5 o'clock. That's a safe bet that especially areas to our south are seeing some light rain. It'll start light, but then it'll kind of pick up in its intensity as we go through the evening, and then it'll get pretty heavy. So there's your conditions outside right now. It is a cloudy, cool day. Just 62 degrees at Reagan. It's just 60 at Dulles and 63 at BWI. We are probably not going to be getting much warmer than that. I mean, not with the rain moving in. So crazy. Oh, just starting to see some of your comments here too, guys. Prayers from Florida. Yep, Kelly, I think that everyone gives a resounding yes to that. Just so awful to continually see the visuals coming out of there. Okay, Marcus, friends in, is it Tybee Island or Tybee? They said it was pretty tame. We've seen worse summer storms. I need to know how to pronounce that, Tybee or Tybee. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I believe that. I mean, this is a Category 1 hurricane on the weaker side, but I can see how, you know, some roaring summer thunderstorms would probably be more impactful. I feel like we'll get a lot of heavy rain, but we've definitely seen worse storms around here. So, yeah, absolutely. It just kind of depends on what your perspective is. Prayers from Florida. It was a doozy for us. Please stay safe up there. Oh, well, we're thinking of you, Annette, and I am so sorry that you, oh, Tybee. Okay, thank you, Travis, that you guys, if you're in Florida, I just can't imagine having gone through something like that. You know, I have, my grandfather lives in Fort Myers, and he stayed. He's a little bit further inland. He's near the airport, but he didn't want to leave, and he stayed, and he has been riding it out. And while he's fine, thank God, although it was a nail biter for the rest of us, you know, he doesn't have power, and you're talking about waiting days to weeks before getting some power back. So it's such a scary situation for anyone involved. And even if they weren't in a zone that had a mandatory evacuation, even if they were inland and they stayed, that was several hours of just battering conditions, just so awful, seriously. Okay, so everyone, thank you, by the way, for joining in, and I appreciate some of your comments. Yes, Chris, this is definitely a weekend for Netflix and chill. Not only is it going to be wet, but it's pretty chilly out there, too. I mean, layers are needed, even if it's not raining yet. All right, so let's get to, let's get a look at the graphics there where I can show you Futurecast coming on in. And there's the rain kind of by right now just to our south. We go forward in time, and you're talking about, oops, oh, how did that happen? well, looks like I've got to fast forward a bit. Bear with me 1 minute, guys. We got to get through, fast forward with some of my graphics here. How will Maryland and Virginia be impacted? Well, I will get to that in just a minute, Kelly. Basically, it's just going to be a lot of rain, and that rain is moving in shortly. Okay, there's, again, your big picture of Ian's rain stretching all the way up into southern Maryland and central Virginia right now. Still a couple hours away from the metro. All airports just reporting cloudy skies right now, but getting to Futurecast, here's the movement with the rain. By 5:30, it's raining pretty much everywhere, light stuff, but it's heavier to our south between Spotsylvania and Richmond. And getting into southern Maryland, some steadier rains by 6:30 too. So absolutely a good Friday night to stay in. If you're on the bubble about plans, cancel them. Trust me, you don't want to be out in this. It's not going to be fun driving. As we get deeper into the evening, the rain just ramps up and it gets pretty heavy. So this is steady stuff over the metro at 10:30. This is like a deluge down in the northern neck, parts of southern Maryland. And by the way, the coast will really get some heavy stuff. Ocean City, Salisbury, Dewey Beach, up into South Jersey, they're going to get some heavy rains too. Worst of it is kind of while we're sleeping after midnight. I mean, it'll start before midnight, the really heavy stuff, and then it'll ramp up into the overnight, pushing northward. And so by the time you wake up 8:30 tomorrow morning, it's soaked outside, but the bulk of the heavy stuff is over. So we are really front loaded with this. We're going to get our heavy, big, bad rains overnight tonight. And then Saturday features a lot of showers, not a nice day. It is still raining off and on, but it's not nearly as bad as, I guess you could say, or as heavy as what's coming in overnight tonight. So a lot of events have been canceled this weekend. Maybe a lot of your personal plans have been too. And that's not a bad idea, because even if it's not raining every minute, it will be wet and chilly and kind of awful outside. Now, I told you the heaviest is Friday night into Saturday morning. Saturday we have, you can be outside for a bit. It's not going to be raining every minute. It'll be light. By Sunday, interestingly, that rain really fills back in because Ian's remnants get stuck. And even though it's moving quickly now out of the Carolinas, it's going to sit and spin just to our west all weekend. So rain will continue to sit over us all day Sunday and into Monday as well. So for the weekend, rainfall amounts kind of hefty there. People are getting over 2 to 3 inches. We're not too worried about flooding because we haven't had a lot of rain lately. And this is nothing we can't handle, 2 to 3 inches across the region. You know, some summer thunderstorms will lay down 3 inches in an hour. So certainly doable for us, but it's still a wet weekend. It's still a lousy weekend. It's one that is certainly best spent indoors, which I know is a bummer. It's the first weekend of October. We're supposed to be having some lovely weather around here, just like we did all week. Obviously, the highest rainfall threat is closer to where actually Ian is, but Richmond area, you know, they have a higher chance of maybe seeing some flooding, and that gets up into St. Mary's County, the lower eastern shore, and the beaches. So Ocean Calling Festival was canceled. I think it was the right call. I mean, certainly today it would be miserable out there, and all day Sunday looks like a washout. Saturday, maybe, you know, better, but why, right? Like, it's just, everything's going to be a mud fest, and it's just going to be nasty out. So it's not like there's a nice day in this forecast whatsoever. So lighter off and on rain Saturday, 67 for the high temperature. Look for that steadier to heavy rain on Sunday, 64 degrees. But the actual pouring rain is more tonight. That's where we'll pick up the bulk of that 2 to 3 inches for your weekend forecast. Okay, James, bad down here in Charleston. I'm so sorry. You're riding it out in Charleston. Category 1 hurricane making landfall just to your north right now. So you're going to be in the thick of it for the next couple hours. It should get better by this evening. The rain will let up. The wind will let up. And it's just going to be a kind of flooding concern overnight into tomorrow for you guys. But luckily, Ian's moving, unlike when it kind of sat and stalled over western Florida. Haven't been to the store in Nova. Really? Milk, water, and toilet paper are cleared out. Why, Marcus? Why? That is just so silly. There's no reason we won't be able to get to the stores. It's just a rainstorm. But obviously, panic level is at a high anytime we have big weather. I mean, I understand. Just saying that we're being impacted from Ian is enough to cause panic because of what we've seen Ian do, even though it's a totally different story. That was a high-end Category 4 hurricane roaring ashore and just ripping apart coastal southwest Florida. This is like, you know, a rainy weekend. But That's okay. By the way, temperatures were on the cool side this week, obviously very cool this weekend, and signs in the long term that we're going to stay this way. Look at that extended outlook, day 6 to 10. So this is getting into the middle of next week. Below normal temperatures across the north and east, and even farther out, the 8 to 14, normal to slightly below up into New England. So fall is absolutely here. We talked about this last week. It happened right on time with the first day of fall. We had comfortable early fall weather on the cool side this week. We are going to have chilly fall weather this weekend with the rain, and then it doesn't really show any signs of a big warm up coming anytime soon. So there's your 7-day, by the way. Let's go over it again. Rain starts around 5, 6 o'clock in the metro this evening. Gets pretty intense by about 9, 10 p.m. Heaviest overnight. Tapering on Saturday to just some showers with a high of 66. Steadier rain on Sunday. Perfect day to sit in and watch football all day long, which is exactly what happens at my house every Sunday, no matter the weather. But now there's a good reason for it, I guess. I guess there's the excuse that we never need, but we have it if we want it anyways, right? Okay, so getting into next week. Clouds and showers on Monday thanks to Ian. You know, I said by Tuesday we'd be clearing out yesterday, and I still think we will. I think the last of Ian's rains are Monday night, and I actually think Tuesday will show some improvement. So I'm going to change that. And then we should be sunny by Wednesday and better weather the rest of the week. And that looks really nice. I mean, temperatures in the 70s there, 73 Wednesday, 76 on Thursday, and then Friday. Looking at 68 degrees. So that kind of gives you a good idea of what I was talking about, that the cooler weather is kind of here to stay. So that's it for your update. We're going to be obviously back on the air starting at 4 p.m. I'll be in. We'll give you the evening forecast on the air. Mike Thomas is here. He'll be up at 5 o'clock. Jen Delgado's here. She'll be on at 8 p.m. on Fox 5 Plus this evening. If there's any flooding alerts that come across, we'll be sure to pass them along to you guys. Doesn't look like we're going to get into any sort of a severe situation or a flooding situation, so I'm happy about that. The stores aren't that bad everywhere in Northern Virginia. Okay, see, well, that's good. Hopefully not everyone. Hopefully you guys can still get around all weekend and not be deterred, but it's not like that, you know, or it's not going to be too bad, but it is certainly going to be a wet weekend. So stay dry, stay safe out there, everyone, and let's hope for no more hurricanes this year, right? Gosh, we got away with so much of the season not bringing any action. I really thought maybe we'd do it, but nope. Ian proved that you can never just, you know, let your guard down when it comes to these storms. It strengthened very quickly, and even though we knew it was coming, obviously doesn't help you know, that it was a major Cat 4 and caused all that destruction. So how about we just go back to the quiet non-hurricane season? So anyways, guys, that's it. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back on the air at 4 o'clock.